Hey all, Jason Levon, priest at St. Luke's Episcopal Church in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Welcome to another Pause and Pray. You may or may not know that the Mississippi River starts from a small trickling of water out of Lake Itasca, a lake in northern Minnesota. And from this little trickle of water out of Lake Itasca eventually develops the mighty Mississippi, which journeys 2,300 plus miles and drains 33 states and ultimately pours into the Gulf of Mexico. I guess it's nature's way of saying you'd be surprised what can come about from a little trickle. And the same is true in our lives as well. I was talking to a gentleman not long ago who's endured a lot of darkness in his world over the past few years. He lost his job at the beginning of the pandemic, lost his brother not long after that because of cancer, and then lost his marriage as well. And in the midst of all of his darkness, he was engulfed with this uncertainty and anxiety about how or if life would ever resettle again. He spoke honestly with me about how initially in all that darkness, he had hoped God could be this grand magician that would just sweep in and shatter all of that darkness with a divine bolt of lightning, as if a snap of fingers could fix everything for him. Instead, though, that didn't happen. He did respond to the darkness in some very healthy and faithful ways. He entered therapy and began to do some real introspective work on grief and even himself and what he brought to the marriage or maybe didn't bring to his marriage. He got more deeply connected to his community of faith and even began volunteering with a local nonprofit and taking his physical health seriously as well as he became an avid hiker. And he spoke to me with deep gratitude about how, he wished there could be this divine bolt of lightning that could take away all of the darkness. But through all of these healthy outlets, he experienced light trickling into his life. And he's grateful, in a sense now, that there wasn't a divine bolt of lightning that fixed all of the darkness, but rather these trickles of light, as he's come to find through therapy what he can control and what he can't control, and how connecting more deeply to a community of faith and volunteer work has helped him to see that when he has the temptation to turn inwards into darkness and depression, it's healthy at times to turn outwards into love and service. And how in the gift of hiking he's able to find some stillness for a mind that does not settle all that easily. And he spoke with gratitude about how all of those have become beautiful instruments of really a holy light trickling into his darkness, helping him see that he can and has changed, even if it seems like not much around him is changing. In chapter 6 of Mark's Gospel, the story is told of Jesus' rejection in his hometown. And the wonderment of the rejection story is that Jesus doesn't respond with rage or even a divine bolt of lightning, a divine, "see, I told you so." Rather, Jesus calls the 12 close to him and then sends them out 2 by 2 to trickle into nearby villages. And it was that trickling, hardly a waterfall, 2 by 2, that a mighty river of faith began to spill and stir and move. Not just in those little villages that 2 disciples trickled into, but into the church you and I are a part of today, some 2,000 years downstream. Lent is a reminder that life will rarely work out according to plan, and sometimes it works out so far from anything we had planned or hoped for. And when we find ourselves engulfed by the darkness that can bring about, it's easy to want a quick fix, to want God to come in and just shatter that darkness with a once-and-for-all divine bolt of enduring lightning. But Lent also helps us see more often than not, God works not through the divine bolts of lightning, but through little trickles of divine light that find a way to sneak into our lives. So today we're invited to pause and pray and reflect on how we come to experience the gift of the divine trickling into our lives. Maybe through some of those same instruments that man has experienced in the story I shared just a few moments ago. Maybe it's in the trickling of patience and presence of people who just share everyday life with us. Maybe it comes from within when there's a trickle of peace that invites us to be a little gentler on ourselves than we normally are. We pray today for the grace to become more aware of how the divine trickles into our lives, so that we can celebrate the beautiful, majestic, mighty river of grace and peace and love that trickling brings about. Lenten peace and blessings to you all.